Jazzcast Pros.
There are some prefix questions that you should be asking yourself before you jump into forming your business as a sole proprietorship or LLC or S Corp or C Corp, whatever you're doing, because there is a lot of pros and cons to each level of formation. Are you an entrepreneur at heart with the mind of a hustler? Then you found the perfect podcast to help you turn your side hustle into a profitable small business so that you can support yourself and your community. Welcome to the Heart of the Hustle podcast. I am your host, Monique. You can call me Motivation. With this podcast, my mission is to teach you all of the things I wish I knew before starting a business so that you can avoid the pitfalls of entrepreneurship and turn your passion into profitability legally. This episode of Heart of the Hustle podcast is sponsored by Textures Beauty Bar, located at 2352 Lau Avenue, where they specialize in all your hair care needs. Ladies, all ages and textures are welcome. Whether you have natural or relaxed hair, they have a stylist that's perfect for you. Follow them on Instagram at Textures Beauty Bar or book your appointment at www.texturesbeautybar.com. Thank you. I thank you guys for subscribing and putting your notifications on. I've been getting a lot of feedback and I am loving the way that the podcast is not just helping me with my brain dump, but also helping you in business. Today, we are going to talk about business formations. So in our last episode, I gave you a free business planning guide so you can kind of map out your ideas on exactly what you want your business to look like and what problem you want to solve in your business. Now, this week, you literally are getting a free $700 to $800 PDF, okay? Just for listening, I want you to focus on the formation of your business. The first one that I want to talk to you briefly about is just having a DBA or doing freelance. The freelance is just you doing a thing, that a craft that you have perfected that you can make money from. Freelancing does not require you to have a license. It doesn't require you to be certified. It does not require you to file any business papers. You are just doing this maybe from out of your kitchen, maybe from out of your living room. A lot of people do lashes and nails as a freelancer, and they don't follow through to get those certifications or those proper license that you would need to advertise your business for maximum profitability. I don't want to get too deep into those because I don't particularly, I'm not going to say respect, but I expect for us to be backed by licenses and certifications, just in case anything happens to one of your clients, that you are not personally sought after or liable for damages caused if you're doing somebody lashes and they get an infection or something by your utensils and you're not properly trained to have sterile utensils or something. So we're not even going to get really too deep into that, but you can do certain things as a freelancer. And I know some people who are pretty dope, who are freelance makeup artists and so forth, but I prefer people who actually go through school and get the certifications and licenses to do the work that they love to do, right? So let's get into some legal formations. But before we get into it, there are some things that I want you to think about before you decide on what business structure. Here are a few issues that you should be thinking about as a business owner before you decide on your business structure. One would be how easy it is to set up and operate your business under that formation. What are the tax advantage and disadvantages of that formation? What are the potential legal liabilities? How easy it will be to liquidate the business if you want to get out of said business quickly. How easy would it be to liquidate that business, right? Do you plan on raising money or more equity for capital as the business grows? What are the regulations to keep the business structure active? Now, that is very important. What are the regulations to keep the business structure active because some of the business structures require you to not just maintain the certificate, but to go back and actually refile for certification. So you must know the correct rules in your state before you choose your structure. How much record keeping is required. Now, if you are not going to get a certified CPA to do your bookkeeping, or you are going to try to do your bookkeeping on your own, make sure the structure that you choose, that you know how to do the record keeping to keep your structure active and in line with the rules for that structure legality. What happens to the business upon the death of the owner would be a great question for you to ask yourself while you are forming your business structure. What happens to that business if said owner passes away, right? So the easiest business structure to start off with is sole proprietorship, right? I was sole proprietorship for the past almost 10 years. For the past 10 years, I was sole proprietorship. It's the most common business structure, and it makes the most sense if you're in business where personal liability is not a concern, right? So I was not thinking forward. My sole proprietorship, even though I had product and I was doing services, I did not mind taking on the liability if something was to happen to my consumers with my product or my service. From a legal standpoint, the owner and the proprietorship are the same. So in all actuality, I was Love Monkey Beards. I was the Groom Room Men's Spa and Lounge, and the Groom Room Men's Spa and Lounge and Love Monkey Beards was Monique Chapman. So me and the business were the same. So if something was to happen to you using my product or me giving you your service, you could not just come after the business, but you would be coming after me legally for compensation. So here are some advantages to being sole proprietor, right? It's the easiest to set up because it didn't require any filing of any papers. Some states don't require the registration of proprietorship. So you can just be the business, right? You don't have to worry about being legal. You don't have to worry about forming members to your business. It's just you and your business, right? And the profits are taxed once the owner submits personal tax returns. So for the past 8 years, my aunt was doing my taxes and I had a side job. So she would just add my taxes, my business taxes, and the write offs that I would give her to my personal business returns, right? That was the easiest part. I would just tell her what I purchased, give her the receipts, and I could write it off on my personal taxes. The assets are easy to liquidate upon the death of the owner, which means I have stations in my basement. My daughters could easily just go in the basement and sell the products. It's accessible. She didn't have to go through a board of directors. She doesn't have to go through members in order to gain profits if I passed away from my sole proprietorship. Here are some of the disadvantages of being a sole proprietor. The owner, me, you, we are exposed to unlimited legal liabilities, which means we are liable for everything that happens in our business. People can come after us, and if I lose a lawsuit, I would have lost my home, car, and personal assets because again, Monique Chapman is the business and the business is Monique Chapman. So whatever Monique Chapman owns, the people, my consumers, could come after those assets of mine and I would legally lose them because I wasn't protecting the business separately and protecting my personal assets separately, right? Proprietorships cannot accept capital from outside investors. A sole proprietorship does not look enticing to investors. It just doesn't because you look like a solopreneur, and to investors that may be a scary thing. Borrowing money is more difficult when you are a sole proprietor. Banks are reluctant to make business loans to sole proprietorship unless you come in with a business plan 35 to 40 pages long and that sucker is tight. And again, your business plan is in previous episodes. You could structure that business plan for free. Click the download to make your business plan as lengthy and as detailed as possible. So you will have to rely on savings, home equity loans, and loans from family members as a sole proprietor. Most people start off their sole proprietorship through family loans or through their savings, and even taking out the home equity on your home to start your own business. The business will liquidate once the owner passes away. So as a sole proprietor, that means once you pass away, your business dies with you. Let me repeat that. As sole proprietor, when you die, your business dies with you. Okay? Hey, business besties. Are you ready to learn to connect and correct? This is an invite to Rochester's first business brunch with networking series, June 25th, 2023, from 1 to 4 p.m., with special guests to help small business owners separate and correct some of the chaos that we have going on in our daily business functions. You can get your ticket at eventbrite.com. Search Business Brunch Expo. We'll see you there. If you are seeking more, or there is more than one business owner, you would switch to the structure of a partnership. Now, this could work in some cases. I preferably do not like partnerships. I mean, it may work for some people when you bring other people on board, and it allows the business to have more than two legs, so to speak. I'm going to give you some advantages and some disadvantages really quick. And then I'm going to give you a quick story on why I will not do a partnership anymore. It's just something that I don't want to do. Okay. So the advantages to a partnership is like sole proprietorship. They're easy to form. A partnership can bring together a group of individuals with different talents. So that could mean my best friend comes in and she's good with accounting, she's good with marketing, she's good with PR, and me, I'm good with hand-to-hand, business-to-business contracts or fundraising, and she handles the rest. That could be a great partnership. If I die, the business stays alive because I have a partner. So the business can still stay alive if one partner dies. The business does not die, right? That is an advantage. The disadvantages are both partners or said partners, one or more, are all exposed to unlimited liabilities. Owners will not always agree on decisions. And this could be where management conflicts arise. And it always happens, will happen. Don't think that y'all always going to be on the same page, because it's not going to happen. Different people have different views, different beliefs in money, different beliefs in avenues of profitability. So I try to stray away from partnerships. Another disadvantage is that partners share in the profits of the business, but in sharing with the profits of the business, partners won't always feel like they're being adequately compensated for their contributions and services. So that just means that said partner, I'm going to use my best friend name. Me and Nikki Banks go into business together. And my best friend has a 360 machine that she rents for parties. We go in for another machine and she's doing all the parties. She's physically going to the locations and doing the parties, but I am getting all the bookings of the parties. I'm doing the promos. I'm doing all of the marketing. I'm doing the ads. I am booking all of the parties. She's just going physically for 2 hours and spinning the 360, getting the people their pictures. But I don't feel like I should have to equally share the profits with Nikki Banks, because Nikki Banks is not getting the parties. I'm booking the parties. Or it can be in reverse. Nikki Banks is doing all of the footwork and going to the parties and sitting there, and she's giving her time, but she doesn't do any footwork in order to get the contracts. So one of us is not feeling compensated enough for our time and our services in this partnership, right? So that's something to think about when you go in with a partner. It has to be somebody who is equally yoked, that you trust. Everybody's name should be on every document. So if it is a partnership, both of your names, if there's two or more owners, everybody's name should be on every document. Every piece of equipment that is owned, there should be a contract for that with everybody's name on it. Every contract should have everybody's name on it. Because what I found, I was just recently in a partnership, and at the beginning of the partnership, I already felt kind of quirky because there was multiple partners in the business, but it was under one person's name. And our plan was, once we get approved for this business, everybody's name will get added to the paperwork, which would be our LLC, and all of the other supporting documents to say that this business is owned by not just one person, but multiple people. And we kind of lingered around adding the other members of the board to that paperwork. And the person who named that the business was under was doing a little bit of work, but not physically investing the time into the business. And when that person didn't feel like the business was being compensated enough for them, they backed out. But in backing out, the whole business paused. They had enough power to pause and stop the business. So that means the other partners, myself and the other partners, we were losing money by the day after we had already invested our money into the business. But now we are feeling played. Won't get me again, because I feel like everybody should have as much power if we are all going in headstrong on one idea. And if the end goal is for everybody to be equally yoked, and equally paid, the partnership has to be with uh, an, a board of members, and everything should be written out. I mean, like from start to finish, when it gets approved, when we're going to add people, who's going to do this, who's going to be this role, who's going to be that role. Everybody should be equally active in the partnership so that everybody feels compensated, but one person should never be in charge of a partnership. One person should never have more control over a partnership. Okay. Keep that in mind. One person should never, I'm going to say this again. One person should never have complete control over a partnership to the point where they can stop that business or they can halt that business. Keep that in mind. All paperwork should have your name and your partner's name on every document, every meeting, every paycheck. Everything should be, every bank account you should have access to, every contract you should have access to, every email for that business, everybody should have access to. Okay?
Hey, if you like this episode, check out Getting Real with Bossy, where we chat about what it's like to be a woman business owner.
You'll hear interviews with women who are doing what it takes to succeed and the reality of what that looks like.
We cover all the topics, figuring out the rules and regulations, navigating business partnerships,
even if that's your spouse, motherhood while running a business, working within your values,
and all the ups and downs of being the boss.
Are you ready to get real? Pop over to our podcast, Getting Real with Bossy.
Now let's talk about unlimited liability exposure and the risk of losing your personal assets in a lawsuit that comes with the partnership and sole proprietorship. If you want to X that out, the next step up is to form a limited liability company. Most people call it a LLC. We've just used a shortening for it. It's limited liability companies. And what that means is that they cannot come after you like a sole proprietorship and take what you have if something happens in or around said business, right? So that means the owners have limited liability. Your personal assets are protected from judgments and defaults due to company misfaults or debts. I have a friend, PPP money came and her business closed. The PPP was not enough to keep her doors open, but they cannot come after her home. They cannot take her car. They cannot take her other business. They can only go after the assets of the said business that is in debt. Okay. The owners can choose how the business pays taxes. So it could be a proprietorship and partnership or a corporation, but you get to choose how you pay your taxes. Most states don't require LLCs to have annual meetings. If you know what an annual meeting is, it's where you come in and you go over financials, you go over assessments, you go over profits and loss. But most states do not require you to have annual meetings. I still say, even if it's just you, have an annual meeting so that you know the direction your company is going in and where you are falling behind in, and to make sure that you are on a steady pace for success and profitability. Right? An LLC is not required to have a board of directors like a 501c3 does. The number of shareholders is unlimited. So that means you can sell small portions of your business if you want to. Okay. The disadvantage of a LLC is the legal and accounting costs are higher than proprietorships. LLCs must file articles of incorporation with the state. Whatever state you in, you have to check to make sure you are filing your articles of incorporation. Right? The owners must create an operating agreement that defines management authority and limits to making decisions. Now let's get to that. Most people, their operating agreement, most people do not know what that is. What I'm going to do for you listeners is I'm going to give you a sample operating agreement so that you can make one for your business. You need to have this on hand so that your business stays in alignment with a LLC requirements, okay? In some cases, LLCs will cease to exist upon the death of a member unless otherwise specified in the operating agreement. So make sure in the operating agreement, you tell them what you want to do if you die, what happens with this business. That should be inside of your operating agreement. Your operating agreement is kind of like your business living will. This is your business's living will, okay? Now, the disadvantages of a LLC is that the legal and accounting costs are higher than proprietorships, okay? I had to stop my aunt from doing it, and I had to go and find a CPA to do my bookkeeping and filing my taxes, right? LLCs must file articles of incorporation with the state. If you want to be appeasing to investors, you will file a C corporation. A C corp is what they call it. Now, a C corp is a legal entity that completely separates from the shareholders who own stock in the company, right? Now, I'm not a C corp. I am LLC. So I'm just going to tell you what I've learned through research, but not by experience, okay? The limited liability is provided for all employees, shareholders, directors, and officers. So here you have to have a board of directors. So the amount of the investment in the company is what the shareholder risks. It has more access to financial resources. A corporation can sell stock to raise capital in the business. They can obtain bank loans or issue bonds for long-term financing. Corporations are better able to attract more talented and skilled employees than proprietorships. The corporation continues to exist separately from the lives of the stockholders, which is a great thing, which means your life and what you do in your life has nothing to do with your business. No one can ever touch your life, your assets concerning the business. If the business fails, your life still goes on. Okay. More advantages of a C Corp is that the shareholders are allowed without restriction on the country of origin or corporate entity status. So there are unlimited amount of shareholders. A C Corp is great for equity financing and attractive to investors because of the well-defined ownership and management and tax structure of a C Corp, because they know that you are structured properly and it's less of a liability for them to invest. Another asset is they have a lower maximum tax rate compared to the maximum personal tax rate applied to non-corporate businesses. A C Corp disadvantages are that the double taxation in which earnings are taxed first. It's under the 21% corporate income tax, and then again in the form of personal income for shareholders, dividends, and gains. Now, this is the disadvantage that scares me, is that there are no personal write-offs. No personal write-offs for a C Corp, which means that shareholders cannot write off business losses and personal income statements as some members of the business structures are able to do. So that means if a piece of equipment, you bought a expensive piece of equipment and now it's not worth as much, you cannot write that off on your taxes. There are no personal write-offs. Another disadvantage is it's more expensive and time consuming to start and maintain than other business structures. With a C Corp, you have to have all your ducks in a row. You have to have a CPA. I would definitely have a corporate lawyer at your handle at all times for legality purposes, because you do not know the ins and outs of business. If something happens when you're sued, you would want to make sure you have a business corporate lawyer or somebody on payroll. You have to invest into a corporate lawyer and a CPA when you are S Corp, because there will be some ins and outs that you do not understand or know if you did not research this thoroughly. Right. Another disadvantage is that there are stricter rules and regulations concerning elements of the business operation, such as meetings and record keeping. So you definitely have to have those annual meetings with a C Corp. And the last is that they're more complicated, rigid management structures with benefits to raise capital. So you have to have all your ducks in a row to be C Corp. Hopefully, the Groom Room Men's Spa and Lounge, we get to the point where we are able to be a C Corp, because there are some great advantages, but just not right now. We're going to stay a limited liability corporation at the moment. So let me know in the comments exactly what structure you have your business in, or what structure you're leaning towards for your business. Now, I don't know everything, as I say before, but what we don't know, we will research. If you need more assistance in finding the perfect structure for your business, hit me on a DM. I'm on Instagram and I am the Groom Room Men's Spa and Lounge. Just send me a DM or comment underneath this podcast episode with your questions, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Again, we are trying to build success together, brick by brick. We don't know it all. Again, and in being an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, there are things that I have to research thoroughly in order to understand, because again, most of us do not have Harvard Business School etiquette or training. So there are things that we have to learn, and the proper business structure is one of them. I know some people who are in their living rooms who are trying to jump to get an LLC because everyone is telling them that with the LLC, you can automatically get 100,000 in funding, which is not true. You have to build your business credit up. You have to make sure that your business is properly functioning. You got to make sure you got those net 30 lines in your business credit in order for them to see that your business is functioning and profitable. So your business structure is very important, but more important is your business plan and how you plan to build your business profile. So don't just try to jump into a business structure thinking that you're going to benefit from the advantages of that business structure immediately. It's not going to happen. It's going to take some time. Okay. So I want you to go through this operating agreement that I'm going to leave in the link below. And I want you to make your operating agreement. And guess what, guys? People pay hundreds of dollars. When I say hundreds of dollars to get operating agreement, you guys are getting it for free. The operating agreement is only for my listeners, okay? Click on the link to see the example and make sure you structure it so that if something happens to you, your children or someone that you trust can go on with your business. Make sure your operating agreement includes how to properly run your business. If you need to put special instructions in your operating agreement, make sure you do so that the next person who you hand your business over to, if something detrimental shall ever happen to you, they can clearly understand how to run your business so that it can stay alive after you are no longer here and you are no longer able to put your hands in the pot. Okay? Make sure you guys use this to the best of your ability. This is a free, you literally are getting a free $700 to $800 PDF, okay? Just for listening. Again, I want to shout out all the people in Ghana who are downloading and listening. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You guys are downloading like crazy. I don't even know how I got that far of a reach, but I am excited and I am appreciative. Thank you guys. And remember, nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. Over and out.